Good morning. I am the Reverend Denise Gouch. I use she, her pronouns, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to worship with the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. Because our developmental lead minister, the Reverend Diane Daugert, has been on vacation, we will be enjoying another worship service led by Rachel Rogers and Roddy Biggs, members of our congregation and aspirants for the UU ministry. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation, we have made a covenant together. We affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and work for justice. We are a welcoming congregation, and we deepen our relationships as we serve our congregation's mission to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world, guided by reason and compassion. I'd like to extend a special welcome to visitors worshiping with us this morning. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you might find it here. If you have questions about our congregation, please contact me. You can find my email address in the staff directory under Contact Us on our website, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you are with us for the live if you're joining us live on Zoom for this worship service, would you please say hello in the chat? We just love to know who's here. No matter what platform you're using to join us for worship, you can find helpful information like ways to give, faith development resources for all ages, reopening plans, and more in the worship portal on our website, firstuunash.org. We are so glad you're joining us for worship.
My name is Jay Tiefenbrunn. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm delighted to serve as your director of music ministries. Our opening hymn is by UU composer Amanda Udis Kessler and is an invocation of the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. As we celebrate the first harvest holiday of Lammas today, I invite you to join me and our collaborative pianist Hollingsmith-Bourne and singers from your adult choir as we lift our voices and spirits in song. Mother Earth, beloved garden, living treasure underfoot, all our days you ground our being, sage and thistle, grass and root. Earths to heal us, plants to feed us, land to till and tend and plow. With the pendant deep as midnight north, we ask you, be here now. Father, air, your inspiration holds together all that lives. As we breathe, our minds see clearly, leading us to love and give. Raging whirlwind, whispered breezes, violent gale, and gentle cloud. With the blade as sharp as morning east, we ask you, be here now. Brother fire, great transformer, share the passion of the sun. In our hearts your warmth revives us, cooks our food and heats our homes. Flaming candle, blood within us, blazing desert will to grow. With the one directing power south, we ask you, be here now. Sister water, ever flowing, ocean, river, pond, and rain, drink we now and quench our thirsting, cleanse us, we begin again. Mist and ice, a host of changes, all that courage will allow. With the cup, the holy chalice west, we ask you, be here now. Lover, spirit, intuition, in the center of our souls. In your love we find relation,
Good morning. My name is Roddy. My pronouns are he and they. I am a member of this congregation, an aspirant towards Unitarian Universalist ministry sponsored by this congregation, and I am grateful to be here to help lead worship this morning. Our opening words this morning are titled Blessed Lammas, and they were written by the sage goddess. In oath-based traditions, Lammas is celebrated on August 1, honoring the first harvest of the season. At this time of year, the nights are beginning to lengthen, and we anticipate the return of fall. This is truly the beginning of the shadow season, before the wheel of the year turns to darker months. We can take time to appreciate the warmth of the sunlight and how they support the seasons of growth. Gratitude in times of plenty is a powerful, powerful practice. What we reap now isn't always fully grown, but by honoring Lammas, the first harvest, we acknowledge our ancestors and the hard work that they had to do to survive and to secure our lingering. Ask yourself, how did I connect with others? What did I create? Did I learn anything new? Did I plant intentions? And how were they different from other years? Take time to reflect upon the seeds that you have planted, giving thanks for what has pushed through the soil and bloomed. It is an essential task to be honest, to look at what did and did not serve, and to release what no longer belongs. Letting go helps you be fully present now and ready to take the next turn of your journey. Blessed, blessed Lammas, beloveds, come, let us emerge once again. Come, let us worship and celebrate together.
The words for our chalice lighting this morning were written by Gary Kowalski. With faith to face our challenges, with love that casts out fear, with hope to trust tomorrow, we accept this day as the gift it is, a reason for rejoicing.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Rogers. My pronouns are she and they. I too am a member of this congregation and an aspirant towards ministry. And I'm so glad to be with you in worship this morning. Today's story is by Martha Dallas. Imagine with me that you are going along a trail in the woods and you come across a steep gorge with a river rushing across the bottom. There is only one way to get across. You see a bridge, but it doesn't look like any bridge you've seen before. You don't see any wood and you don't see any metal holding it together. It looks like a simple grass pathway with some railings stretching all the way across to the other side. Could it be, you wonder? Is this a bridge made of grass? What I want to know, or at least I think about, like, what questions would be running through your mind when you encountered such a thing? Would you want to set foot on that grass bridge? Would it be sturdy? Like, how is it staying up? And what I really would want to know is, more than anything else, do the people who made the bridge also use it to walk across into something new? And do they still use it today? Of course, we don't have bridges made of grass here in Tennessee, but many were built for hundreds of years in South America by the Inca people. And I think a few still exist. So here's how they did it. First, they made fresh bridges every year. On the appointed day, everyone in the village would gather to begin work. Each person had a special role to play in building the bridge. First, there were the people who gathered the grass. Then there were the people who took the grass and twisted it into long ropes. Even more people took those ropes and wove them into thick braids. And as those braids were twisted by other people into long cables, as thick as my arm. So certain people would string those cables across the gorge and pull them nice and tight. And finally, there were riggers who would lash the cables together in such a way that they could create a footbed to walk on and rails on either side to hold. Each person did their best to help out the whole. They relied on everyone else to do their part well, because every one of them needed that bridge to safely carry them across the river whenever they needed to go that way. So I'm telling you about grass bridges this morning for a few reasons. First, it reminds us how important our small part is when it's part of something big and strong and even as miraculous as a bridge made of grass. And these bridges, they could span 60 feet. They could hold 5 people at a time, even llamas too. I also think it's wonderful that each year they started fresh, understanding that they needed a new, stronger bridge to carry them into the future. And each year the bridge builders would be more skilled and would bring with them the knowledge of the builds before. Also, we in this congregation may not be building a bridge across a raging river, but we are building a way toward our future, our shared vision. I want to walk that way. I hope many of you will walk that way too. And if I'm going to walk that way, I want to walk that way in a way that feels secure and strong and safe. A way that I know has been built well, with everyone doing their part as best they can. So may we all build that way together, like the Inca grass bridge builders. So ends our story.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm particularly delighted that our transcription service is writing llamas as llamas, and your story had llamas in it too. So I'm thinking of llamas today. All of you may or may not know that this congregation shares every Sunday's collection with an organization whose work outside our walls aligns with our values. Our Share the Plate partner for the month of August is the Nashville International Center for Empowerment, whose mission is to ensure that refugees and immigrants living in Nashville achieve their full potential now and for generations to come. You can learn more about them in the worship portal at firstuunash.org, where you can also find the link to our online donation form. As always, your gifts, like your presence among us, are received with gratitude. Thank you so much, Holland. Oh, I invite you all to take a moment to fully inhabit this moment, to settle yourself in whatever space you are in now, to know that you make it a holy space by being there. Just you, or you and the people who are right next to you. And know too that your holy space extends to connect to all the holy spaces we inhabit, each of us, as excuse me, that as we gather across time and across space this morning. And as we breathe into our shared space across our shared networks, I invite you now into the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, that is also the spirit of bridges and the making of bridges, the careful craft and teamwork that goes into constructing a way from where we are to where we would like to go, to where we need to go. We ask for a blessing on our work as we learn to move together from where we are to where we will be, in all the uncertainties about where we are, in the uncertainties about exactly where we will be when we move, the uncertainties about our timetables, when we will get there. We're so eager. But for now, together, we know that we too are builders of bridges, that we will work together to create a world that is safe, secure, a means of traveling that is strong and can hold us all. So a blessing on our being together. And by being together, may we be a blessing to the world. Amen. Blessed be. May it be so.
I'd like to invite you on a journey, on a guided visualization and meditation. So arrive now at this moment. Settle in to the space that you have created for yourself this morning. As you do, I invite you with your eyes open or closed, maybe softly gazing at something before you. Maybe you prefer to pay attention to your breathing as it comes in and out of your body, in and out. Maybe it's none of these things and something else comes to mind. Do whatever feels right and comfortable in your body this morning, as only you know. And as you do so, I invite you to imagine with me, to imagine that each of us are caterpillars soaking up the sun in preparation for cocooning. What is it that you have created? How is it that you have connected with others? Do you even connect with others at all? Do you have intentions? And if so, what are they? What are they? Imagine that you are weaving your cocoon and awaiting your emergence as a butterfly. How will you connect with others then? What then will you create? What will you have learned? What intentions did you plant and which ones have bloomed and blossomed? What might be different after your emergence than before? What unexpected bloomings might await you upon emergence? How might you respond to the world around you now? What will be different and how? Emergence takes on many forms. Emergence is both individual and collective. Each of us have witnessed and experienced so much these last 18 or so months. And as we begin to slowly emerge into the world around us, things are bound to be different, unknown, unpleasant, and surprising. You are different. I am different. Each and every one of us is different than before our emergence. So, beloveds, emerge. Emerge at your own pace into this new way of being. Emerge. And as you do, acknowledge the ancestors, the land, the harvesters, your own feelings, and each other. Emerge and let your wings take shape. Emerge and let your soul guide you forward. Emerge, emerge, beloveds, emerge.
Thank you so much, Roddy. So, I don't know about you, but in my life, there has never been a season that felt more exciting, more sparkling with possibility than the end of the summer, beginning of fall, back to school season. As a kid, I would feel such excitement at the possibility of new school supplies, like lining up my pencils, like the notion of labeling all the folders in my Trapper Keeper, because that's aging myself, and organizing my school box. Like it all felt like an opportunity for a fresh start. Like even when I was so young that I don't think I understood what a fresh start really was, or that I even really needed one, but it still felt so alive with possibility, right? So most of this way, like because of the way that most school calendars are set up in this part of the world, August and September feel like a transitional time for a lot of us. Since the late 19th century, when most school calendars were standardized across the country and began including a summer break, communities in the US began existing within the same cycles of starting things new in the fall after a summer break. New grades in school, new classmates, new church years, new extracurricular activities. So even as adults, we exist in these same cycles. Summers become about vacation for a lot of us and joy in a different way than most seasons. And the fall becomes about getting to work, about tackling the task at hand. Long before our schools picked up a fall to spring schedule, though, many cultures celebrated this season as a time to welcome the harvest. As Roddy brought to our attention at the beginning of this service, today Lammas is celebrated. This is a celebration where many ancestors cut their first wheat harvest of the season, and where we now mark the midpoint between summer and fall. This intentional moment is about reaping the benefits of labor. Yes, we planted and tended, and now we harvest. But it's also about a moment in time when we begin to prepare for the coming season. If we wait too long to harvest our wheat, we will not have enough bread to bring us through the coming fall and winter. So Lammas is an intentional moment, a turning, a moment of tending to and partnering with the earth to care for ourselves, our families, and our communities. Each year, a little bit later than August, typically in September, but still in this season, I always experience a very specific moment where I notice the weather is considering making a turn. It's that first evening where the temperature is neither cold nor hot. It's right in between. I always walk outside in this moment, and suddenly like it descends upon me, like here it is, the turning, the change. And this weather, it's unendingly pleasant. It also for me carries a bit of weight to it. It's like a magic in the air that is heavy with possibility. I think this turning point for me becomes a turning inward because my body is remembering all the years of emerging back into school as a younger person, of being reunited with friends after a season away, of forging into the future with a new idea that now is the time to get to work. Now is the time to start new. In this time, on this day, we are existing in a threshold between the isolation of the pandemic and hints, however unstable, of what life may be like as we all emerge. One challenge I have for each of you is to be mindful about the state of your own heart during this time, and to also greet each other, holding space for what may be new, different, or changed in each of us this season. Mia Birdsong is a family activist who activates for the strengthening of communities and the self-determination of low-income people. In her book that came out last year, How We Show Up, Reclaiming Family, Friendship, and Community, she says, the ability to hold space for another's experience is a critical one. It's not about giving advice or trying to fix anything, but witnessing and just being an active, attentive presence. In his book, that many of us know well, The Body Keeps the Score, Dr. Basil van der Kolk says that being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health. Safe connections are fundamental and meaningful, to satisfying lives. I think that these two quotes give us a pretty good starting point to think about how we may reemerge and reconnect mindfully in this time of newness and uncertainty. Well, I'm not suggesting that we start every conversation with some sort of hard inquiry into the biggest hurts of 2020 or a play-by-play of all a person has been through. I am suggesting that we greet our loved ones with beginner's mind, right? That Zen Buddhist notion of having an attitude of openness, eagerness, and lack of preconceptions when studying a subject. We may need to throw a lot of what we think we know about a person and how they may react or behave or what's important to them out the window. I mean, we don't throw the love out or the care out, but truthfully, I believe that in this season of turning, a lot of us, including myself, don't yet fully understand all the ways that we have changed in the last 16 or 18 months. So if we don't know these things about ourselves, how can we anticipate knowing them about each other? In many ways, a lot of us entered, however unwillingly, into a period of mandatory asceticism during the pandemic. As we isolated ourselves in order to keep ourselves and our community safe, we inevitably learned many things about ourselves. We identified strengths, needs, and priorities. Many of us developed new spiritual practices and developed rituals of self-care and community care that we had no rigor around before. We came back into our communities bearing gifts. None of us can know the future, but what the future will hold with this pandemic. Of course, we pray for relief and for stability, for safety and the ability to connect in person with those we love. And many of us, myself included, for the first time in a very long time, and also particularly our children and youth, are facing at the same moment the beginning of the school year once again. So as we walk across this bridge from the last school year into the next, from the last season into the new one, from a summer where most of us, or many of us, have had a bit of a break from the scariest moments of the last year, may we do so bravely in this moment. May we be firm in the knowledge that we are doing so, walking into this new season, most assuredly, with more wisdom than we held this time last year. We all emerge into this time changed. We come into this season with new knowledge. We come into this time with a level of preparedness that many of us have never embodied before. My hope and another challenge to you is that you find the time to identify in yourself some new gifts that you bring into this season. I also hope that you can locate somewhere within yourself some of that tingle of excitement, untouched by weariness. A part of you most assuredly exists that recognizes this season as a doorway into something new, a new time for learning, and a new chance to embody all that we have learned already. Together, we can learn about ourselves, learn new ways to work together in community, with each other, and with the earth that holds us. So may we weave this bridge together and walk across it with intention, in partnership, with a continued willingness to learn. For while we know that we are prepared, we also cannot know completely the gifts we will receive and the lessons we will learn. I, for one, look forward to what is next. May it be so.
Thank you so much for your thoughts, Rachel. We close today with a song by Joseph Shambalala. He is one of the founders of the South African singing group Ladysmith Black Mambazo, who found fame working with Peter Gabriel in the 1990s. On one of his early trips to New York City, Joseph worried that he might not be able to return to his homeland and his family in South Africa. And in the back of a taxi, the words and this song came to him. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Be still, my heart, even here I am home. It's important to recognize the sources of our music, and in the culture that birthed this song, music and movement go together. And so I invite you to join in the singing and the dancing as we lift our voices in song. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Tula Klizio Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya. Hey Kaya Nala Pasekaya.
The words for our chalice extinguishing, as always, were written by Elizabeth Sell Jones. Please join me, if you know them by heart. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Just as it is important to recognize and name the sources of our music, it is too important that we recognize and name the sources of our readings. Today's benediction comes from the book Encounters, Poems About Race, Ethnicity, and Identity, published by our publishing house, Skinner House Books, and is written by someone who should be familiar to many of us, a Black UU woman by the name of Paula Cole Jones. These are her words. A modern day warrior, a man to his word, rose towards the sun on the wings of a bird, his face etched in ebony, armor of gold, the deep of the sea could embody his soul. The ancestral spirits endowed him with sight. The cries of his people propelled him in fight. His foes cast out their nets. and the lies dimmed out all the lights. But the unaltered hero rose to new heights. Over the rain-thirsty rivers and forest set ablaze, over greed and human malice. He planted his sword deep down in the boughs. He silenced the tremors. And true to his vows, he rose like a phoenix, his power conferred, his face towards the sun on the wings of a bird. Beloveds, this service is over, but may yours continue on renewed. May we be the emojis of love for generations past, generations here now, and generations still yet to come.